I was a state trooper for 14 years. I've seen car wrecks, standoffs, bodies in rivers. But nothing prepared me for what I saw in that abandoned farmhouse. And the worst part, I wasn't alone. It knew I was there. They don't teach you this stuff in school. As soon as you walk onto a crime scene, you do a sweep. That means you want to see everything, hear everything before anyone else does. You want to get a baseline. This was my 6th call out that night. So I was tired. My partner, Jonesy, was new. He was excited to finally be working the overnight shift instead of desk duty. I could tell it was getting to him. The house had been abandoned for years, but somebody was living there. Squatting, stealing power, I didn't care. What mattered was nobody was hurt. And it was a hot summer night. So as I walked up to the back door, I opened it so I could yell inside and save myself a few steps. As soon as I did, though, Jonesy put a hand on my shoulder. He looked pale and shaken. Sir," he said, you need to see this." He pointed his flashlight towards the living room. The whole place was pitch black, but there in the center, lit up like a spotlight, was a pentagram. It was drawn in chalk that had to have been ground down to make that fine of a point. I wasn't religious, but I was pretty damn skeptical. Still am. But I felt a shiver crawl up my neck as I turned to Jonesy. "Let's get him out of here," I said. I knew exactly where those supplies came from. Every kid brings them home from Halloween. I was thinking he just wanted to look around. Maybe he brought it home from some kid's house. Then I heard it. A faint breath. It sounded like somebody whispering right next to me. Except I could hear him and nobody else. I thought he was joking until I saw his face. He looked as scared as I felt. "Did you hear that?" I whispered. Jonesy nodded. We backed away slowly, carefully, without taking our eyes off the pentagram. It glowed faintly, casting grotesque shadows everywhere. I felt my skepticism turn to caution. If there was anybody in here, I wanted them to know we were leaving. But as we got to the doorway, I stopped. Something about that chalk pentagram sat wrong with me. I turned back. Jonesy stopped with me, his face white as a sheet. I took a step forward. "Stay back," I hissed. Then I reached out and touched the symbol. It felt cool under my fingertips, almost moist. But it was dry to the touch. I pulled my hand back, grabbed my radio, and snapped it on. "Dispatch, we've got a possible break and enter in progress at the old Harmon house. Possible subject inside. Repeat, possible subject inside. Need backup ASAP." As I listened for a reply, I watched Jonesy. His face had gone white. His hands were shaking. He had that wild look you get right before you throw up. "Jonesy, snap out of it," I said. "Just breathe. Stay calm." My eyes flicked back to the radio. Dispatch hadn't replied. I tried again. "Dispatch, do you copy? We need backup. Possible B&D in progress. Static." I tried again, my voice tight. "Dispatch, respond." All I got was more static. At that moment, I knew something was seriously wrong. Our radios had perfect reception in this county. Unless somebody was messing with us, which would be funny if they weren't breaking into a house and possibly murdering the occupants. We ran outside and jumped into the cruiser. Jonesy looked pale as death. "Call dispatch," I said. He shook his head. I tried. "They're not responding." I grabbed the radio and tried again. All I got was static. As I fumbled for my cell phone, I glanced back at the house. A single window was glowing red. We drove off as fast as we could. Back at headquarters, it turned out that everybody's radios were dead. Nobody could get through to dispatch. I didn't think that was a coincidence. But the chief at the time, Phillips, did. It's just a bad connection, he told us. Happens all the time, but as the hours ticked by, it became clear that something was wrong. Even worse, the only way to contact dispatch was through the county line, so the chief couldn't even call for help. Finally, a state trooper driving by caught wind of what happened. He gave us his radio and things started to come back online. We got the chief patched through, and moments later, he was hanging up, his face pale. "Get to the old Harmon house now," he said, his voice tight, "and bring weapons." By the time we got back to the house, every unit in the county was there. I swear there were at least 30 cop cars surrounding the place. I felt a surge of relief, but it quickly vanished. Why hadn't the chief called us back? Why did he send everyone? Was it a trap? Then I saw the other cops looking at their radios, their faces grim. I remembered mine was set to the local channel. I switched it to the county channel. That's when I heard it. It was a voice, distorted and crackling like an old ham radio. It was the voice of one of our own. It said, "Unit 9, come in." I stared at the house, my heart pounding. There was no Unit 9. That was the last time I ever heard anything on that radio. As the sun started to rise, we swarmed the house, guns drawn. I called out. No response. We searched everywhere. Every closet, under every bed, in the attic and the basement. But there was nobody inside. Except when we got to the living room, we found a chalk pentagram. It was on the floor, right where we left it. But in the middle, scrunched up, was a piece of paper. I picked it up and uncrumpled it. On it was written the word, "Come." There was nobody in that house. But there was something else. The front door was unlocked, and it hadn't been before. We swept the place methodically. We found nothing. So I went to the front door and stepped out. That's when I noticed the chalk. It traced a path from the pentagram to the door, to the front steps, and then down the road. I followed it. It led right into the woods. After a while, I stopped. I was chest deep in the forest. There was nothing but trees and bushes. And then I saw it. A rock monolith. It was crudely carved, almost like a giant phallus. And there were pentagrams carved into its sides. As I stared at it, overwhelmed with disbelief and frustration, something crunched in the bushes. I spun around. A deer. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. I was ready to call it quits when Jonesy came sprinting out of the woods. "Sir, we found something," he gasped. I followed him back to the cruiser. He pointed to the back seat. There was a pair of state trooper uniforms. They were caked in dirt, and lying beside them was a badge. We raced back to the monolith. I knelt down beside it. Sure enough, the badge was engraved with the name Unit 9. We never found him. Only his badge, inside a wall. That night changed me. To this day, I still carry a small crucifix around my neck. I don't know if it works. I don't want to test it. After that night, I haven't been the same. And neither has Jonesy. He retired early, a couple months after that. Some cases stick with you. This one still wakes me up in the middle of the night. If you've ever seen something you couldn't explain, leave it in the comments. We read them all.